Hello students, today we will discuss lesson number 10 of history, the Mughal Empire. Under this chapter, we will discuss sources to reconstruct the history of Mughals. Under these sources, we will discuss literary sources and archaeological sources. Under literary sources, we will discuss Aine-Akbari, and under archaeological sources, we will discuss Taj Mahal, Red Fort and Jama Masjid. Then last topic is Akbar, his administration and political aspects of him. So let us start with this chapter. Literary sources. Among the literary sources, first, and that is the only one in our syllabus, that is Abul Fazl's Aine-Akbari. Abul Fazl was a great scholar as well as the leading historian of the Mughal age. So he was a writer and historian during the Mughal time. He is best known for his historical work Aine-Akbari and Akbarnama. So these are his two writings, the main writings, and written in elegant Persian, Aine-Akbari gives information about the army and legal and revenue system of Akbar's administration. So this Aine-Akbari, that is written in Persian language, very graceful this one is, and from this book we can get the information related to the army during the Mughal Empire and their legal and revenue system, what type of rule regulations were there, what kind of revenue system was adopted during the Akbar's time or in the Akbar's administration. We learn from Abul Fazl that Akbar had a commanding personality. Aine-Akbari contains 5 sections or books. So under this Aine-Akbari, 5 sections are there of this particular book, or we can say 5 sub books are there under this one. Number 1, the first one deals with the royal household. So first section is having the information related to the royal household, so whatever was going on and that their mahal. Second book is concerned with the military and civil services. Although there was nothing like a strong navy in the modern sense of the term, but Abul Fazl writes about admiralty, it means naval forces or naval departments. So what we got from here, actually we don't have much information that they were having a kind of navy or naval forces like in modern times we are having. But from this Aine-Akbari, as the discussion or the writing related to admiralty departments are mentioned in this book, it means a kind of naval force was there. And what were the functions written in this book of this admiralty department? Number 1, to build boats. Number 2, recruit skilled seamen. It means definitely they were having naval force. Then the third book deals with the imperial administration, including the administration of law, justice. It means whatever laws were there, what kind of justice was provided, and the rule and regulation under what administration was going on, everything is mentioned in this book. And Akbar granted to his people the right to present petitions to the king for some legal action to be taken. It means the people of Akbar's kingdom, they were having the authority or they were having the right to present petition. For example, if someone is having some kind of a problem, so they can come to king. If something wrong done with them by anybody, so they were having the right to present the petition so that some kind of legal action could be taken. And this book tells us that for the purposes of administration, the empire was divided into subas. Subas means the provinces, like states we are having, which were further subdivided into sarkars, means districts. It means for the better administration, Akbar divided his empire into number of provinces, and those provinces were further divided into number of districts. So this we got from third book or third section. And the fourth book provides information about Hindu theology, means the religious beliefs or the things that are related to Hindu religion, and emperor's fondness for books and persons with whom he could discuss religion and literature. So it is written in this book that emperor, means Akbar, was having interest in the religious books and with those person with whom he can discuss about these type of matters. And last, fifth book tell us about Abul Fazl's ancestors. It also presents an account of his life. It means from fifth book we can get the information related to Abul Fazl's own ancestors and information about his life. So from this Aine Akbari, we are able to get a lot of information about the Mughal Empire, especially for the time period or of the time period of Akbar. Second is archaeological sources that we will discuss from page number B110, as in detail topic is given there. So let us move to page number 110. Under archaeological sources, we will discuss first archaeological source, that is a building of Red Fort in Delhi. Red Fort in Delhi was constructed by Shah Jahan during the period 1639 to 1648. It is a huge structure made of red sandstones and marble. So this is a huge building that was constructed by Shah Jahan. Time period was 1639 to 1648, and red sandstone and marble is used for the construction of this building. Now, features of Red Fort. First feature, it has a massive walls around it. It means one boundary is there. The walls of the fort are covered with a succession of turrets, domes, balconies, windows, and perforated screens, which make the exterior of the fort extremely attractive. It means the walls of the fort that are covered with the little towers, domes, balconies, windows, and kind of holes are there for simply for the protection, you can say, to look outside. Then screens means for the protection purpose, so these little holes for the protection purpose are also there, and all these things make the exterior, means outer look of this fort, extremely attractive. Second feature, the fort has two gateways. The western gateway, known as Lahori Gate, and was used for ceremonial purposes, means two entrances are there. The entrance towards the western side, that is known as Western Gateway, and it was used for ceremonial purposes, and other gateway for private use only. Third feature, within this fort there are magnificent buildings, so very beautiful buildings are there under inside this Red Fort, including a public darbar hall that was known as Diwan-e-Aam and Diwan-e Khas, in addition to residential apartments which were for the royal family. So residential area was there, and Diwan-e-Aam and Diwan-e-Khas was there. So these two were the halls, like means big hall type buildings are there. One for the use of common person and another one for the special or prominent persons of the darbar. Diwani Khas is lavishly ornamented hall where the peacock throne was placed. So very beautiful building this is, where peacock throne was placed, and the hall was used by the emperor to give audience to the princes of royal family, nobles and other important dignitaries, as I already told you. And Diwani Khas is indeed a noble building, certainly the most highly ornamented of all Shah Jahan's buildings. So very beautifully decorated with the ornaments, gems, gold, silver, money were there, but now at present time nothing is there. Everything was removed. An inscription engraved on its walls reads, so writings are engraved, and it is written there, if there is a paradise on the face of the earth. So if on the earth there is heaven, it is this and none but this. It means these lines are engraved that this is, if heaven is there on earth, that is this one only. And every year on 15th August, the Prime Minister of India addressed the nation from its ramparts, means thick walls. For what purpose? To commence the Independence Day celebration. To start means in the beginning of this Independence Day celebration, Prime Minister gave his speech from the ramparts of this Red Fort. Okay, then second is Jama Masjid, again in Delhi. It was built by Shah Jahan, so Red Fort also, and as well as Jama Masjid, built by Shah Jahan during the period of 1650 to 56. It is one of the most elegant building of its kind. Architectural features are, first one, it is built on a lofty basement, means high basement is there. Over that basement this building was constructed, about 9 meter high and 1170 square meter in area. So very big area is used for the construction of this building. And there are 3 gateways to the mosque, approached by majestic flights of steps on the south, north and the eastern side. It means 3 side entrance gates are there, and to approach that gates there were number of stairs or steps are there. And the eastern gateway, the highest and largest of all, was reserved for the use of Mughal emperors only. The 3 gateways give access to an open courtyard. So one open courtyard is there, and all these 3 entrances, from all these 3 entrances one person can enter in that particular courtyard. And second is, at its 4 external corners are placed 12 pillared, means when we are talking about its external area, outer part of this building, there are 4 corners and 12 pillars are placed. So those pillars that are placed, there are having some purposes of that. So these are 12 pillared kiosks surmounted by marble domes. So for the protection purpose, these pillars were having small booth type of stores for the safety purposes. For example, where they means those soldiers or other persons, those who may be appointed, they can have a look what's going on outside. And the central dome is the largest and highest. Third, On the north and southern sides, there are two elegant minarets, each rising to a total height of about 40 meters and divided into three stages, each having a projected gallery. So galleries are there, and height of this minarets is about 40-meter high. Fourth point, the face of the spacious prayer hall, means prayer hall is very spacious, very big, consists of 11 arches, of which the central arch rising far above the roof levels, it means up to the roof level this arch is there. And the mosque is indeed one of the finest specimen of Mughal architecture. Its spacious courtyard, the tall minarets, and its elegant domes, they all helped to produce a pleasing effect. So really this Jama Masjid, this is a very beautiful and big building. From here we can judge about the Mughal empires, what type of architecture was in use, or what type of buildings they used to construct. And the last one is Taj Mahal, that is in Agra, the most outstanding monument built by Shah Jahan. So this is again built by Shah Jahan, and this is the outstanding and the most beautiful building, that is Taj Mahal at Agra on the banks of the river Yamuna. This grand mausoleum was built, this is a tomb. So Taj Mahal, this is a tomb, very big tomb it is, was built in memory of his beloved queen Mumtaz Mahal. It has been described as a dream in marble designed by fairies and completed by jewelers. So it is said for this Taj Mahal that it is designed by the fairies and completed by the jewelers, because it is very beautiful building. Ustad Isa was the architect who designed the monument. So who was the architect? Ustad Isa. And the features of this monument are: first, it is made of pure white marble. So pure white marble was used for its construction. As a monument of love, it is unsurpassed in the world. So there is nothing that we can say beautiful or greater than this building. So this is the only one masterpiece, if you want to say, that is constructed till the date. It stands on a raised platform and is surrounded by cupolas on each corner, means rounded roofs are there on each corner, and the bulbous dome in the center has the appearance of an inverted lotus, like one lotus is there, upside down it is there of that lotus. There are four smaller domes at the four corners of the buildings. So of this building, small four domes are there, like this is the big one, and these two and two are behind that. Four domes are there, and in these corners, these round buildings are there, round roofs of these buildings are there, and these are known as the minarets. Four minarets stand each corner on the terrace, and the outer walls and the interior walls are richly decorated with the exquisite inlay work and calligraphy, means very beautifully this building is decorated with very beautiful writings over this building's walls, and even on the roof these writings are engraved. So with this, our archaeological sources, under archaeological sources, Taj Mahal topic is over. Now next topic is related to the Emperor Akbar that we will discuss in the next video. Till the time, watch this video, try to get the topics. If any doubt is there, you can message me, and meanwhile just revise the topics that we have already done. Thank you.